Hi everyone, it's Louise here and welcome to day one of our 3-day spooky look at Halloween. And today we are going to be looking at what is Halloween? Where does it come from? You may be familiar with the dressing up, the costumes and the ghosts and the witches and pumpkins and all these sorts of things. But where does it come from? What exactly is Halloween and why is it celebrated? And how has it changed from its original format? So in today's lesson, we are going to be looking at what is Halloween. So let's get started. What is it? And again, here we can see, something spooky. Halloween has been known as a number of different things. All Hallows Evening, All Halloween, All Hallows Eve, All Saints Eve. And they're all meaning the same thing. En, and you can see the way that I've written it up here in the slide, E with the apostrophe, E-N, is actually an old Scottish word, and it's short for evening. So if you think about somebody who has perhaps a stronger Scottish accent than I have, then evening can sometimes sound like they're saying een, and they're just cutting out the vning, eve or een. And that's quite a common thing. Quite a lot of celebrations or days that have the word eve in them in Old Scots, then it can be heard as being said een. So this een comes from an ancient Scots dialect, or All Hallows Evening, All Halloween, All Hallows Eve, and All Saints Eve. And Eve means the evening before something. So it's marking the day before something that happens. So probably the most famous one other day that we have is Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Day. So Halloween is the day before All Hallows Day. And All Hallows Day was a celebration or an observance of 3 days of remembering the dead. And it wasn't just your own dead that you were remembering, your family and friends who have left you, who have died, but it was a remembrance of saints and martyrs as well. And so the 1st of November, All Hallows Day, started a 3-day observation of remembering those who have died. Now, our celebrations today have some influences in customs and beliefs that come from Celtic-speaking countries. Now, the Celts were from all over Europe, but particularly concentrated on the British Isles. So Celts are people who have Scottish roots, who have Irish roots, and Welsh roots. So lots of Celtic-speaking countries. And they had particular pagan beliefs, but there were also Roman roots to the customs and beliefs that they had back hundreds of years ago that have influenced the celebration that we have nowadays. Traditionally, back in the days before we became very commercial with Halloween, it marked the end of the harvest. So the end of October, the 31st of October, particularly here in the British Isles, it marked the end of the harvest time, because now was the time when it was starting to get very cold, and if you hadn't harvested your crops by now, then they were probably going to be affected by the first winter frosts and the cold that starts round about now. And so it heralds the beginning of winter. People saw the 31st of October as a time when the boundaries between this world, the living, and the dead, the world of the dead, thinned, where the two worlds became closer together. So back in those days, thinking of hundreds, possibly thousands of years ago, when people believed that the spirits from the other world could come into our world and have an influence on things that happened, they believed that at this time of the year, when everything started to die, particularly here in the Northern Hemisphere and in the British Isles, where now it's winter, things are dying. We're moving into winter months, so the plants and the trees are shedding their leaves, plants are dying, and people believed that was the influence of the boundaries between our two worlds being less, and people could see the spirits coming in from the world of the dead, and they could come in and influence and perhaps were even responsible for our plant life dying back as they headed into winter. And so the spirits were able to come into our world, and people were frightened of the spirits. They feared them, that they could do harm, not only to them, but also to their livestock that they depended on for food during the winter, but also to the crops that had been planted ready for going into springtime. And so they made offerings to the spirits to ensure that not only they, but their livestock and any potential crops that were due to grow in the coming spring, that they were not affected by the spirits as they came into our world. But they also celebrated the spirits as well. So they wanted to please them. And if they didn't, then the spirits could harm their crops. But they also celebrated them because it could be the returning relative, a favorite uncle or father or a loved one, returning back and showing them that they were fine. And so it was often traditional to set a place for them at the table for their evening meal, so that they showed that they were welcomed into the house, and that they were always remembered. So there was this strange feeling of celebration, but also fear, that led them to have these traditions of having flames, fire. They believed that the fire not only attracted the spirits, but stopped them from harming the livestock and themselves. So candles were very important, and offerings of favorite foods that perhaps their loved one had when they were still alive, things like that. And all of those have translated into some of the traditions that we have nowadays for Halloween. So particularly things like candles still play an important part, and certain foods still play an important part. And we will look at that in day 2 and in day 3 as well. So that's a little history of why we have Halloween. And you can see that it has changed quite a lot from the Halloween of years past. Today it's a lot more commercial, it's a lot more about the dressing up, into getting dressed into fancy costumes, having parties, and having games and activities that we do. Tomorrow we will look at one of the traditions that has remained from hundreds of years ago. And today I have set you a quiz based on this video, and the answer to the questions all spell out the topic for tomorrow's video. So listen to this video again, answer the questions as you go through, and the first person to correctly give me the answer to what is the topic for tomorrow's lesson will win a 20-minute free one-to-one session with me to talk about your most ghastly problem in English. Don't worry if you don't win today's competition. There will be another chance to win a free session with me after tomorrow's video. And on Tuesday, Halloween itself, I will be giving you more Halloween information, and I will be giving you 3 opportunities to win a one-to-one session with me. So don't worry if you don't get today's answer. There will be other opportunities to win a session with me. So that's it for today. If you have any questions about Halloween, please feel free to put a comment below this video. And please feel free to share this with your friends and family so that everyone knows about Halloween and everybody has a chance to win a session with me. So until tomorrow, take care. Bye.